So you can shut up, baby. You just hate America and you love abortions.
First of all, I just think it's hilarious.
I'm in on the joke, guys.
So who's going to be the one to tell Charlie Kirk that we're laughing at him, not with him?
South Park just roasted the conservative star influencer Charlie Kirk, and his response is kind of brilliant. We're going to break it all down and so much more in today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, our daily show where we take on the craziest ideas from across our media, our politics, and the internet, all from an independent perspective. Up first, guys, we're going to talk about South Park because I am a longtime South Park fan. I've been very interested by their recent dipping of their toe back into politics. We talked a couple weeks ago on the show about their Trump episode, which I was a little bit mixed on, didn't find it super funny. But the latest episode where they take on Charlie Kirk and kind of the debate me bro style of conservative influencer, plus hilariously roast the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, I thought was much better, and I really thought was very well done, and kind of a compliment, actually, to the influence of some of these figures as well. First, we're going to talk, though, about Charlie Kirk, and I want to talk about him in particular because they did this whole episode, and he was probably the main focus of it, though there was that significant storyline with ICE and with Kristi Noem as well, which we'll come to. But with Charlie Kirk, they really captured his essence very well in kind of the debate style where he takes on college kids and he's like, well, what is a woman? You haven't given a definition. That's circular. And his haircut and so much more. Without further ado, guys, I'll just roll you a clip from this because they poked fun at Charlie Kirk as the master debater and had, everyone's favorite, but also the most objectively unhinged and evil character on South Park, Cartman, take up the role of Charlie Kirk. Take a listen to this.
Eric, what are you doing?
I'm sorry, Mom. You told me to go to sleep, but I started master debating again.
This is really getting to be a problem, Eric.
Mom, you don't understand. I'm getting really good at this. I have my arguments down rock solid. These young college girls are totally unprepared, so I can just destroy them and also edit out all the ones that actually argue back well. It just feels so good.
I understand it feels good, but that doesn't mean you do it all the time.
I'm sorry, Mommy.
Put the computer away and leave those poor college girls alone.
Okay, I won't master debate anymore tonight. Look, you can call it reproductive rights, but be honest, if the baby could speak, it would fight for its right to live. And
Eric Cartman!
I'm sorry, Mom.
So look, I'm obviously only able to show you a brief clip, but if you watch the full episode, and I watched it with my partner and my sister the other night, we genuinely found it very funny. They really did capture his essence, both for good and for bad. The essence of Charlie Kirk, this extremely prominent conservative influencer who, whether you love him or hate him, has undoubtedly had a very big impact on swinging young people and college students towards the Republican Party and towards supporting Donald Trump. In one sense, it was complimentary because the fact that they did this episode about him and the fact that they spoofed this genre of content or political activism, I guess you could call it, is a massive, massive compliment to his relevancy and his success. And I think he knows that. It's because, frankly, if he wasn't making a big impact, they wouldn't have ever talked about him in the first place. And then even some of the exchanges where they show him debating a liberal college student or whatever almost come off as if they acknowledge the strength of some of the points he has or the inability to refute those points. That said, there's obviously a critical element here, and they do go after kind of the self-pleasuring, you might call it, aspect to some of this debate me bro stuff where it does become kind of obsessive. It is very kind of egotistical, and also it's fundamentally often not a fair fight. So, for example, you have somebody like Charlie Kirk, who I think is in his mid to late 30s now, and he is a professional political activist and media commentator, not unlike myself. And I say that not as shade, it's just the truth. And he's going and debating random 20-year-olds in between their classes who don't know anything, who are not professional communicators, and who haven't spent decades thinking and talking about politics. So it's fundamentally kind of a it's not dishonest, but it is a little bit of a lowbrow style of content, right? You're definitely not taking on the best or strongest version of your opponents. Also, you have the platform, you have the audience, and they don't. So, like they say, you can massage these clips in the post-production process or leave things on the cutting room floor where actually you didn't know what you were talking about or they made a point against you. And then there's this kind of unfair nature to the distribution of the content as well, not just the fight itself. So I think they make some very legitimate critiques of his approach to politics, while also, frankly, commending him by their mere mention and in part by their depiction for the relevancy and the impact of his approach. And Charlie seemed to take this as a massive compliment, which in many ways I do think it is. Take a listen to how he responded. He did a whole breakdown of the episode on his podcast, and he frankly seemed to get a real laugh out of a lot of it and think that it was well done. Take a listen.
So you can shut up, baby. You just hate America and you love abortions.
It's the stupidest haircut I've ever seen.
First of all, I just think it's hilarious.
So
and secondly, the whole thing is like, wait, so a campus thing I've been doing for 13 years to debate random college kids has now been so important that it gets prominent primetime placement on Comedy Central. I think the whole thing is just awesome.
Now we're going to look at how leftists on the internet are responding to Charlie's response. But first, please do take a second to subscribe if you haven't yet. Hit that like button while you're at it. And remember, you can listen to the Brad vs. Everyone podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts if you want to take us with you on the go. Also, send in your voicemails with your woke horror stories, your personal life situations, or any questions that you guys have for me. Send those in at the link in the description. So Charlie really seemed to try to not get triggered, not get upset, but actually take it on as a compliment. The fact that South Park parodied him and mocked him. And I've had many criticisms of him over the years. I do view him as kind of a hyper-partisan ideologue. I do think he dodges debates with people who are his equals, but I respect the way he handled this. He didn't get triggered. He didn't clutch his pearls. He leaned in. He laughed about it. He even made the Cartman as Charlie Kirk thing his profile picture, and then he capitalized on it, doing episodes about his podcast, doing media hits about it. It's honestly how I would respond, I think, and I can totally respect it. But leftists online, at least on TikTok, because he has a big club of haters on the internet, absolutely, seem to be very upset that he wasn't, I don't know, hurt, that he wasn't upset, that he is laughing. He's not supposed to laugh. He's supposed to realize they're mocking him. Yeah, that he knows, and he's laughing at it because that's what South Park does, and he's just being a good sport about it. But they really didn't like the way he responded to it. Take a listen to this.
Hey everybody, so the South Park episode is going super viral right now.
Watching you set your brain to hyperspin mega drive to try and cope with this fucking absolute annihilation of an episode of you and your entire fucking shtick is on brand. Every fucking video, you're just trying,
No, I'm in on the joke, guys.
Anyway, I guess just continue to cope. I don't know. This is tough to watch, Charlie.
I love that Charlie Kirk is trying so hard to be in on the joke in this South Park episode. I don't think you understand what this is. This is not a friendly roast between friends. They are making fun of you because you are a hack, morally contemptuous loser. It's very much giving this meme. No.
Charlie Kirk is not at all upset about the South Park episode. Not even a little bit. He thought it was so funny that he's selling this super cool master debater shirt on his website because the show's so cool and he's cool and it's so funny. He thinks South Park is so funny and he's so funny too, and he's so glad that he was in on the joke the whole time.
So who's going to be the one to tell Charlie Kirk that we're laughing at him, not with him? Because for the last day, he's making it seem like he's in on the joke. Charlie, you are the joke.
Oh, I'm totally open to criticisms of Charlie Kirk. I've criticized him multiple times on this podcast myself, but to me, this all just totally missed the mark. I mean, because it feels like they're making an unfair demand of Charlie that puts him in a lose-lose situation. If he had been upset by South Park's rendition of him and their mockery of him, then they would say, ha, Charlie's a triggered snowflake, just like the libs he likes to mock. And I think, frankly, they'd be correct. And we will come to somebody who was being a triggered snowflake about their South Park depiction, Kristi Noem. But anyway, so he didn't do that. I'm glad he didn't do that because I think that would be deeply hypocritical. And he chose to just take the joke, laugh along with it. And now they're saying, you don't get it. They were mocking you. They're not laughing with you. They're laughing at you. Yes, he understands that they're mocking him. But what else is he supposed to do other than laugh about it or get triggered? There's really no other option. Ignore it? Why would you ignore a massive thing happening about you? So I find the criticism to be totally unserious. And they're also ignoring the fact that it is a compliment to be name-checked on South Park, or at least it is an acknowledgement of your relevance at the bare minimum. So the idea that he would be laughing at it, but also be kind of flattered that they're going after him, to me seems totally reasonable. But these people, I think, would have just bashed however he responded. Because again, it really seems like a no-win situation. Overall, I thought the episode was funny. I thought it was well done. And I also think Charlie, my many criticisms of him aside, handled it well and handled it about as well as you really could in that situation. But what do you guys think? Have you seen the clips? Have you seen the actual episode? What's your take on all of this? Do let me know in the comments and hit that like button while you are at it. But now, guys, we got to talk about somebody else that got mocked by South Park, which is Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who, as progressives call her, Ice Barbie. She dresses up in outfits for TV hits. She does ride-alongs with ice raids, and she kind of has a unique style. She's very glammed up. She's clearly had a ton of plastic surgery and work done, and South Park went after her pretty brutally in their latest episode. Let's roll a clip of that.
All right, recruits, this is it. We're heading to a location that might be filled with illegals. Let's take these bad hombres down.
We're just here for questioning. Cooperate and nothing bad. Holy shit!
Look, I'm really sorry about this. It's just, I got a monthly nut, you know? I gotta make my nut.
Did a good job in there, soldier.
Okay, thank you, Captain.
I know it's tough doing what's hard, but we could use more men like you on the side.
Whoa! What the f***?
Your Botox, Miss Noem? Oh, yeah, fix me up. Another day doing what's tough.
So I thought this spoof of Kristi Noem and of ICE more broadly, I did find it funny. Particularly, the funny thing that you have to understand a little bit of the lore to get the joke is when Kristi Noem, throughout the episode, every scene she's in practically, murders a random dog. It's like, oh my God, pulls out her gun and just starts shooting and kills a random dog. It is just they're hitting you over the head with this reference because in her book that she wrote, like I think a biography or a political book, this actually ended up coming back to haunt her when she was being considered as a possible selection for Trump's vice president. She bragged about killing a dog she couldn't train in really gruesome fashion and about putting down a goat. And she thought this like showed her willingness to get tough jobs done. But in reality, it just kind of made her look a little crazy and inhumane because she just killed the dog instead of potentially, you know, giving it away or sending it somewhere where they could train it or sending it somewhere for dogs that, you know, aren't fitting in with their other dogs. Like just there were a lot of steps before taking it out back and going Old Yeller or whatever. It seemed like a creepy thing to do. And they really hit it over and over again in a way that was absolutely funny if you understood the reference. The next thing is they clearly ridicule her looks. Her face practically melts off over and over again in the show. And then the camera crews and the makeup artists and the plastic surgery people all come in and fix her up and then put her back up again. And I mean, I thought it was a little funny. I don't think it's like the biggest deal in the world. Yeah, she has had a lot of work done. She's very fake looking. I don't really care personally, but it was kind of funny. And they went after her looks, which okay, they do that to a lot of people. Like, they just went after Trump's penis size and other things. So I just wasn't particularly scandalized or shocked by that part. I didn't find it that funny, but I mean, she does very much lean into the performative aspect of it. Like, she wears these costumes for interviews that are clearly like, she'll wear an ICE uniform to a television interview where you know that she just put it on to do the interview. She's not actually doing any business that would require her to wear a vest or anything like that. There is a performative kind of dress up aspect to her as Homeland Security Secretary that I think they very astutely tapped into. Of course, the mocking people's looks I don't find particularly interesting or insightful, but it's just part of what happens in these kinds of comedies now. So the thing that I wanted to comment on that pissed me off was how she responded. Take a listen to this clip of Kristi Noem on Glenn Beck's podcast and radio show, responding to this and whining and playing the victim. Then, oh, South Park made fun of my looks. That's all the libs know how to do. Take a listen to this clip and try not to roll your eyes so hard that you get a headache, which was my initial response.
South Park did an episode, and Cartman played me the whole time.
Oh, really?
It took me about a year before I didn't even know it happened until like maybe a year later. I was so busy. I ended up years later watching it with my son, and we both laughed over it. But welcome to the club.
Well, I guess so. I didn't get to see it. I was going over budget numbers and stuff, but I just think it's it never ends. But it's so lazy to just constantly make fun of women for how they look. Only the liberals and the extremists do that. If they wanted to criticize my job, go ahead and do that. But clearly they can't. They just pick something petty like that.
So there is so much here to unpack. But first of all, I have to clock the lie at the top. I haven't seen it. She's definitely at least seen the clips of her. I was too busy looking at budget numbers. Sure, Jan. Sure you were. I'm sure that your aides showed you the 90-second clip on Twitter. All right. And you have time for every television interview and press conference in the world and are very concerned with what the media and press think about you and your agency, which totally fair. Don't gaslight us and tell us you haven't seen it, which you haven't seen it, but you also know the contents of it and are offended by them. And here's the thing, the reason I have to laugh. If she had just said, one, she says, well, they just went after my looks. That's all they had. That's not true. They went after many substantive things of her as well, like her killing dogs, like her rushing and bribing people to join ICE with huge sign-on bonuses, then throwing them out in the field with very little training, like them targeting illegal or undocumented people who are not dangerous or not a threat, like her racially profiling people. All sorts of substantive criticisms were in the episode. So she's not being honest by saying all they did. She could refute those. I'm not saying they're all true or valid or justified. She could refute those allegations or that mockery, but it is not true to suggest all they have to go after is my looks. And I actually agree that I don't find the looks mockery very interesting. I try to avoid commenting on people's appearance. Once in a while, I can't help myself, but I really do try to avoid it because it's not substantive. It doesn't really further debates in meaningful ways. But for her to say, only libs and the extremists mock women's looks, when her boss's Donald Trump is diabolical. Maybe, I guess she's fine with it, and many Americans have made their peace with it, but he calls women pigs, ugly, fat, slobs, everything under the sun when he doesn't like them or agree with them. This is documented over the years, time after time after time. So for you to sit there and claim that only libs and extremists, by the way, South Park is really neither of those things, but for you to say only they mock the appearances of women while actually actively serving in the administration of Donald John Trump is insane. The audacity, the lack of self-awareness. For somebody who looks in the mirror all the time, you're clearly not looking clearly enough, is all I'll say. And I have to contrast the way that Kristi Noem responded to this, the pearl clutching, the left are just coming after my looks, I'm a woman, blah, blah, blah. I have to contrast that with the way Charlie Kirk responded to it, where he laughed at it. He joined in on the self-deprecation train. He made fun of himself about his funny habits and drinking water and then picking up the water but putting it down. Like, he literally, I watched the whole episode he did breaking through the clips and talking about it with his other right-wing buddies. And again, I have my issues with him, but he handled it like a class act. He wasn't a snowflake. He wasn't triggered. He didn't play the victim. He didn't go full hypocrite mode or do any of the things that Kristi Noem did. So I think we just saw like the two genders of conservative leaders and personalities, one of which is actually, I think, walking what they talk on, at least as far as, snowflakes and taking a joke and comedy is legal again. And the other one that is behaving, honestly, how you'd expect a Democrat to behave, invoking their identity and playing the victim. I hate that. I hate it when woke people do it. And I actually hate it even more when Republicans do it, because they're supposed to know better. They're supposed to be the party that's against identity politics. But a lot of them do lean into it the second that it's politically advantageous or they have no real rebuttal or response to something. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet, and hit that like button while you're at it. Okay, up next, we've got to check in with some of the most toxic woke podcasters on the planet. And these are the two hosts of the I've Had It podcast, which started out as a funny and wholesome and savage and not particularly political podcast that I actually used to enjoy once upon a time, but then quickly turned into kind of lowbrow MSNBC rage bait political commentary and softball interviews with Democratic politicians like Kamala Harris and Barack Obama. Now, what's remarkable about these women is that they don't seem to realize how perfectly they typify everything that people find repulsive about modern progressivism and its rhetoric and its ideology, the acerbicness of it, the disdain for people who disagree with them, the reverse racism and pretty open bigotry. So we're going to listen to a clip that's going really viral of Jennifer Welch, one of the two main hosts here, that really, it has it all. Take a listen to this.
I've had it with white people that triple trumped. Yeah. That have the nerve and the audacity to walk into a Mexican restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, an Indian restaurant. I really genuinely believe that if you triple trumped, then you are all about preserving the lack of culture in white America that has led us to where people go and Bible thump with their AR-15s. Like, that's the only thing that I see when you get all white people together in the United States. There's no culture at all. So they have to go borrow culture from people. Even the word woke, they've borrowed from Black culture. I don't think you should be able to enjoy anything but Cracker Barrel. Get your fat asses over to Cracker Barrel. Quit watching NBA basketball. Quit watching sports that are dominated by African Americans. Quit going to Mexican restaurants. You want white culture, you go live in it. But do not participate in any of the shit that makes America cool.
Wow. Wow. So it's hilarious to me on so many levels, but first and foremost, how quick the body positivity goes out the window, and how suddenly it's fine to fat shame and body shame people as soon as it's evil, dastardly white Trump supporters. And then it's fine. And I'm sorry, but again, I don't like to comment on people's looks, but when you've had that much work done, you should not be commenting on other people's appearances. Like, you just shouldn't. Not everyone has the luxury of reality TV money or whatever you do to go under the knife dozens of times and then still kind of look like an alien. Like, I don't, why are you browbeating your fellow citizens like this and race shaming them? The Cracker Barrel thing, first of all, weird strays being thrown at Cracker Barrel, which is perfectly fine. But then this idea that white people only support Trump and the Trump movement is all just preserving white culture. I think there's a fringe element that genuinely does consider that kind of thing, and I condemn that. But a lot of Black people and Hispanic people did vote for Trump. A lot of white people voted for Trump for reasons that have nothing to do with race or white culture, which I don't even think is a thing. I don't even think white people is a a real or meaningful category with much or any commonality between it, because it encapsulates people of all sorts of different ethnicities and descents with their own culture and food and traditions and heritage. So, by the way, which does exist. I mean, so you're saying Italian people don't have culture? You're saying like what? All sorts of different Spanish people, all sorts of different white people have no culture of their own, right? I don't think that's true. And it's also just a bizarre way to speak about people. This toxic identitarian worldview where you are shaming people. And what exactly about voting for Trump is inconsistent? And I didn't vote for Trump. I voted independent, and I'm pretty critical of him. But what exactly about being a Trump voter means you can't or shouldn't go to a Mexican restaurant? Is she just conflating Mexicans with illegal immigrants? Is that it? Because those aren't the same thing, Jennifer. And you're kind of actually the one sounding a bit racist with that suggestion to me. Same with like, what does any of this have to do with Indian people or Indian restaurants? I mean, yeah, there's some debates about like visas and whether to increase or decrease H-1Bs and different things. But like, what any of that has to do with whether you can attend or go patronize an Indian restaurant is not clear to me whatsoever. Also, why do you want these people to lose business? That's your way of being a helpful ally to these minority groups, taking customers away from them because you're shaming them for who they voted for? And there's just zero accountability or reflection on the fact that actually toxic, identitarian, woke white people like yourself are the ones that drove away so many normal, moderate Americans from the Democratic Party. The way that you speak about groups of people, the way you collectivize, the way you assign blame and guilt on the base of demographic, the way you are hateful and judgmental to people who think differently than you. That is what has repulsed so many people, including plenty of non-white people, away from the Democratic Party. And these two perfectly embody it. Let's watch the rest of this clip that's blowing up.
And what makes America cool is multiculturalism. And if you want to triple Trump and you want to browbeat DEI and you want to browbeat gay people and you want to browbeat black people, as you've been doing for 400 years, and you want to browbeat this generation of immigrants that come over here and open up businesses earnestly, pay their taxes, you want to demonize them and call them rapists and felons and all this shit, when the felon is the teeny weeny mushroom cock piece of shit, Kankles McTaco tits at the top of the ticket. I have had it from top to bottom. White people that triple Trump should be banned, boycotted from enjoying the best thing that America has to offer, which is multiculturalism. Get your fat asses out of the Mexican restaurant. Get your fat asses over to Cracker Barrel, because nobody wants to see your smug ass, teeny weeny, pink arm, big gut around. Nobody wants to see that shit. No one.
There is so much here, like so much to unpack. And again, she just comes off as so unhinged, so unstable, so full of hate in her heart. Really sad. But also, go back to what you people have been doing for 400 years of shaming black people and gay people and all this stuff. Ma'am, I've been doing nothing for 400 years. The average Trump supporter has been doing nothing for 400 years because we haven't been alive that long. You're suggesting that we bear blame for what other people who lived hundreds of years before us did? And do you know that the U.S. is only, 250 years old? It's not 400 years old. Like, what? And a lot of this is hallucinated. First off, opposing DEI does not mean that you oppose diversity. It's the equity and the reverse discrimination involved in a lot of that, and the identity obsession that people object to, not the fact that people of all walks of life and background can exist side by side. I think most critics of DEI, myself included, view that as valuable and, yes, as part of what makes America great. I don't agree that it's the only thing that does. I think our institutions and our Constitution and our values also make us great, not just our multiculturalism, though I am a proponent of that, though I think there's a nuanced conversation to be had about some of that. Anyway, though, what has Trump done against gay people other than openly support gay marriage and appoint the highest ranking gay official in the cabinet ever with the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Like, I feel they're just going woke Mad Libs. They're just rattling off the list of things that liberals are supposed to care about and assuming Trump bad on all of them. I've been very critical of some of his immigration policies and other things, but to just say that, oh, he's everything under the sun. How is Trump against black people? Again, in terms of what he's doing as president, his electoral campaign, anything, I don't really see much to go off of there. You're just making these assumptions and you're trying to force people into these identity boxes based on things you hallucinated, like the red wine and mixing it with the Ambien. It hit too hard, Jennifer. You need to keep it separate. Your doctor told you to stop mixing. Listen, I find, and whenever I see a clip from this podcast going viral, I find it sad because they are very prominent influencers. They are prominent progressive personalities now. And yet their approach is exactly what has led the Democratic Party and progressive media and commentators astray in the first place and just made their brand so incredibly toxic to normal people. And in a time when I really do think the Republican Party is becoming very unserious and very extreme and very much captured in a cult of personality around Trump, I wish we had a normal Democratic Party. I wish we had a sane, stable alternative. But as long as people like this are the messengers, we do not. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe if you aren't yet and hit that like button while you're at it. And that'll be it for today's episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Do send in your voicemails for our Voicemail Friday episodes, and we'll talk again real soon.